Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, August 11th, 2016. I am Dan Ruin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. If it's Thursday, that means Steve Wiltfong back from his summer sojourn, tanned, rested, and ready. Steve, where were you?
Good morning, Daniel. I was up in Traverse City, Michigan for most of the vacation. When you got a 2-year-old and it's hot as hell out, you try and get as north as possible instead of dealing with airplanes and all that jazz. But I want to give a shout out to my wife today, 4 years. She's been married to me 4 years. So she's, I trick her every day, man, and I'm lucky to have her. And, so congrats to her.
She has fulfilled her 4-year obligation to you. I will be on the lookout for a, grad transfer, but we digress. Okay,
that's why I
want to talk
Fitness,
about.
man. That's why I go to LA Fitness to try and keep her in the fold.
There's more depth to her than just a strong man. You know that. Speaking of strong men, two of them, J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers. There's a lot of discussion going on here about who Ohio State will end up with at running back. I do think that the goings-on of the team going forward, I think they're going to take 2 running backs in this class. They already have the commitment from Dobbins, and they're in the mix for Akers. You have crystal balled them. I went back and watched the tape recently of both guys, and I'll just go on the record. I think Dobbins is better. I think Dobbins is the future. I'm so impressed when I watched the tape. But now I think there's starting to be a vibe that he could stay in Texas. Where are we on the running backs? Who do you really choose if you had to choose one? And then we'll go into what could possibly happen if one of them doesn't come in here.
Well, who do you choose? It's splitting hairs. J.K. Dobbins, the number 1 all-purpose back in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. We have him in at number 27 overall, which is a 5-star grade if he stays in that top 32 by signing day. Don't think that everyone inside the Woody. I mean, I think that there's folks inside the Woody that agree with you that he is the top running back on the board and top running back in the country that Ohio State's recruiting. But obviously Cam Akers is special. Their tape's different just because Cam's playing quarterback, and we've talked about this before, but Cam's tape is just kind of funny in a way because he's so damn dominant and he's doing different things than you see a dominant running back do on film. He's just a hell of a high school football player. J.K. is great. Obviously the most athletic player in the country. He proved that at the opening. But Cam Akers was like number 3 in that same setting. So they're both freaks. You're splitting hairs if you start arguing who's better. Ohio State, they're going to take 2, like you said. And right now they want J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers.
Well, I love Dobbins. Obviously, it is splitting hairs. I just think Dobbins fits the modern. Actually, I don't want to say anything. I wouldn't say anything negative about Akers. When I watch Dobbins' tape, he just has a little bit more of the. I know Akers is supposed to be more explosive. I see Dobbins with a little more home run hitting ability. Dobbins also has the ability, if everyone watches the tape, he has, more than anyone I've seen recently, the ability to juke someone at full speed and never come off his line. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I watched also in the non-padded one-on-ones he got into at the opening, and he can do the same thing. He has this lateral juke move. It's just incredible. Anyway, maybe that's just I just watched the tape. Here's my question. I'm convinced more than ever that if you look at the situation, they're going to take 2 running backs. And I think everyone would agree they're going to get Akers or Dobbins. But I don't know if they're going to get both. And I still think they're going to take 2 running backs. So let's say it's Akers and blank or Dobbins and blank. Who do you think is most likely to be blank?
Well, Dobbins is committed, so I'll stay with Dobbins, and then blank would be well, with Ohio State, you know that the machine is evaluating so many guys that we're not even talking about. And when you're Ohio State, you can come in on someone late that's committed somewhere else, maybe even committed somewhere else high profile, and get him. But as of August 11th, 2016, I would guess that if Morgan Ellison has a good year at Pickerington Central, Ohio State takes a chance on him as the second back. He's a big, strong kid. Another one of the most athletic running backs in the country. Always puts up a high Nike football rating score. Not quite as high as Dobbins or Akers, I don't think, but he's in that top of the next tier. He's a really athletic, can catch the football, ultra competitive, big physical back that we don't know if he's a great football player because he's gotten hurt as a sophomore and a junior. But I do know, watching the way the Ohio State staff interacted with him at Friday Night Lights, talking to the folks afterwards, they really are intrigued by him. And so Morgan Ellison would be the guess right now. But Ohio State's will be always looking to land the next best player, not the next best guy they can get easily. And that's no disrespect to saying Morgan Ellison they would get him easily. But they're going to try and get the best player in the country they can get. And they're not afraid to go recruit toe-to-toe with anybody. And that's really what separates Ohio State and Urban Meyer and year in and year out, because a lot of teams, even teams ranked in that 10 to 15 range, I feel like every 2 or 3 times a year they just take the kid they could have got instead of battling for the kid and seeing what happens to the wire, And Ohio State, they'll go to the end and you saw them ride it out as long as they could with Deshaun Watson. You don't win them all, but they battle, and the next running back, it could be a guy that we're not even talking about right now that they're going to go out and battle for.
I think that's of all the positions on the board right now, I think running back, maybe defensive tackle, is the spot where a guy will bubble up late because they need to fill the spot, and we don't really know about it yet. As we know, the way the class is now, there's going to be some changes before the end. That's just the nature of the beast. Speaking of changes, one of the guys we talked about on this show, literally ad nauseum, Jordan Fuller. He's listed as an athlete. He's great. He's listed as an athlete by 24/7 Sports. Came in as a corner, but has already made the much-anticipated move to safety. I think he's following, I'm hoping, someone that will follow a similar path as another player out of Texas, and that's Jeffrey Okudah. We had some discussion on here that he's listed as a cornerback wide receiver, whereas when I watched the tape, he is the best high school safety prospect. I mean, I don't want to say I've ever seen, because that's just an outlandish comment, but I can't remember another one better. I was telling you this before. I have not seen someone transfer, like when you watch the tape, once Okudah deciphers the play, his decisiveness and first 2 steps in a straight line are the elite of the elite of the elite. Where do you see them standing with Okudah? And do you also project him to eventually be a safety in college, like Fuller was?
I mean, I haven't asked on Okudah in a while, but I haven't heard. Last I heard it was all Ohio State. I mean, he was certainly looking at Oklahoma and some other places, but I haven't heard anything to make me think he's not going to be a Buckeye. I think that Okudah is a top 5 player in the country, regardless of
overall.
Overall, 24/7 Sports, we have him number 25. But if these were the Steve Wiltfong rankings, he would be in my top 5. I think he's special. Fuller, that's one of the guys I'm partial to, so I won't even be able to give you an unbiased response. Fuller's a guy that, you click with a couple families each year in my job, and Jordan Fuller was one of my favorites. Glad I ran into him at Friday Night Lights. I'm rooting like hell for him at Ohio State. We ranked him as the nation's number 2 athlete at 24/7 Sports, so certainly could see him doing a number of things in a Buckeyes uniform. Safety makes the most sense. And talking to you off there, sounds like he has a great shot to make an impact this fall right away. Urban Meyer gushed about him on signing day, so what they thought of him going in, and I know he was at the top of the board of several college staffs when he went through the process. So excited to see what Jordan does. I think that Okudah is probably, I think Fuller is good in coverage. and Fuller was certainly a plus athlete, but Okudah is a special athlete. So I think that there's a little bit of a difference when you compare the two there. Okudah is more athletic than Fuller, who is very athletic himself, but Okudah is one of those special athletes.
When you saw Okudah out at the opening, that's a good test of your athleticism among the other elite athletes, and he was still stood out to you there.
Well, he finished second in the Nike football rating, second or third. I mixed up. I know J.K. finished first, and Cam Akers and Okudah were the other two. I think Okudah was second. That was eye-opening for me because I loved his tape. That's where he went to becoming a top five prospect for me. Okudah may not be the guy that flashes a ton in 7-on-7, but I don't care about that. I mean, he's a great player on Fridays with elite athleticism. So for me, that equals top 5 player in America. I love the 2 offensive tackles we have ranked high, and Foster Sarah and Walker Little. I love Najee Harris. I think he's great. But I could see myself ranking Okudah 3 ahead of Najee. We have Dylan Moses 4 and 5. I would put Okudah higher than them. I love AJ Epinesa at 6. I would probably put him in my top 5 also, the defensive end committed to Iowa, who's also the best discus thrower in America right now as well, to give you the type of athlete that young man is. He's going to be a stud for the Hawkeyes and a guy that Ohio State's going to have to mark for several years. And then I could see myself, putting a Baron Browning up there, a Josh Myers up there, a Chase Young could evolve into that. I don't think he's top 5 right now, but Chase Young's upside. We have him number 20 in America right now, the 5-star defensive end who committed to Ohio State at Friday Night Lights. His dad's like 6'9" or 6'10", just a massive human being. Chase probably isn't done growing. He's a lean 6'5", 225. It's going to be exciting to see what he grows into with Larry Johnson and company, McMurati in Columbus. I'm starting to ramble now, so I'll cut it off. But Jeffrey Okudah is special.
Yeah, Okudah to me is also, I know that 24/7 likes to project guys out. He's the prototype NFL safety. Because he has decent size and he has that elite speed, so he'll theoretically be able to cover an outside receiver. Go ahead.
And he'll tackle you. He can tackle.
No, exactly.
Like about up there, yeah. So,
well, there are many guys. Yeah, the guys that usually are so aggressive in their angles and stuff. Those are usually the guys who try to put the shoulder on you and get on SportsCenter. And he's a form tackler, so the combination of the two. I just love the guy. I mean, obviously the show has been affected. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was my fault cutting you off. I don't think people have to drink.
No, everyone still drinks. I think you still have to drink. Go ahead.
But the one thing I learned, Ray Mickens, the great corner out of Texas A&M who played in the NFL for a long time. Ray Mickens is 5'8", and the thing that Ray talked to me about, and I've looked at now for the last couple of years, and you've probably seen it in my writing a little bit, but you can't play in the NFL if you can't wrap up and tackle. And so now I look for it on film from high school guys, and that moves guys up the list for me because, sure, these guys should be able to run into these high school guys, lower the shoulder, and knock their ass three yards backwards, but you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to tackle Corey Clement at Wisconsin like that. You're going to have to wrap him up and bring him down. And Okudah's already showing that ability to be a guy that wraps up and plays the game the right way, And sometimes we overrank these hard-hitting high school safeties, but, those hard-hitting high school safeties aren't going to be tackling guys like Ezekiel Elliott on Saturdays, lowering the shoulder.
Well, plus the position has changed. Former Oklahoma safety Roy Williams is kind of a prototype, almost like a linebacker back there. The way the game is now, you're almost looking for kind of a guy who would have been a tweener back in the day, corner to safety with their ability to run all over the field. And that's kind of Okudah would have been I mean, Okudah could come in and play corner, could come in and play safety, could come in and play H-back. You know what I'm saying? Come in and play receiver. He's that kind of player, so that may not apply to him. But in terms of his style, I think he's a perfect fit. Steve Wiltfong, obviously a perfect fit for the show. We appreciate him coming back after he was on vacation. There's several opportunities for you guys to pound drinks there, so have a good one, Bucknutters.
Appreciate it, Daniel.